When I say wahoo, y'all say yippee wahoo! Yippee. Wahoo! Yippee. When I say wahoo, y'all say yippee wahoo! Yippee. Wahoo! Yippee. Let's go! Let's go!
Alright folks, this is not a typical type of video, but apparently I'm a hater and this is what I do now. So I was hanging out with some friends, ended up heading home. On my way back, I'm like, you know what, it's late, Best Buy's nearby. Let me go check out what the situation looks like over there. So we actually have two Best Buys close to where I live. I'm in a moderately populated area, a suburb. So I decided to stop by the two Best Buys. Stopped by one, it looked like there was a lot of people lined up outside. It's obviously raining, so I was not interested in checking it out. I just decided to keep driving. I got to the next one, it looked equally as populated, but they have like an awning overhead, so it kind of allows you to stand underneath the rain and stay dry. Got out of the car, decided to talk to the people there, see what's up. So I spoke to the guy at Best Buy and asked him, like, you know, if they had any Switch 2s available, if they had consoles and games and whatnot. And he told me, he was like, yeah, he's like, what are you interested in, which type of console? So I was surprised because I'm like, it's past 11:30 p.m. I'm like, usually at this point everything's done. And he goes and tells me that he shows me like a stack of slips that he has, and there must have been at least 100 or 200 stacks in there. Maybe I'm exaggerating, it's probably like 40 or 50 stacks, but it was a thick stack. Slips, sorry, not stacks. So it was like maybe 40 or 50 slips, and each of those is basically a Switch. And he's like, you know, yeah, you pick this and then just come back, make sure you're here at midnight, which is in like 20 minutes from now, and you get yourself a Switch 2. And I was like, you guys have enough for that? He's like, yeah, he's like, we got plenty. There's not as many as you'd think were being sold, I guess.
So the Nintendo Switch 2 just launched, but there's immense amounts of backlash occurring as so many people are now refusing to go and pick one up, with numerous stores reporting that they have hundreds of unsold Nintendo Switches just sitting on the shelves. Why are so many people opting out of purchasing a Nintendo Switch 2, and what does that actually mean for Nintendo going forward? Watch to the end of the video to fully have all of these questions answered. Don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. And guys, if you want to learn how to buy, sell, trade crypto, then go and check out Angry's Crypto Academy. Do not let them tell you that you will own nothing and be happy. Don't let Nintendo fool you, okay? Go check out Angry's Crypto Academy if you want to learn how to buy, sell, and trade crypto. It's linked in the description of the video. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. And for those of you that want to see it, here is a bit of some Mario Kart World gameplay for you. This is how it looks. That's, I believe, Waluigi. And I personally don't think that this looks really very good. I like the original Mario Kart Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I just don't find this to be extremely appealing. I think the game just basically looks very much like Mario Kart Deluxe. And, you know, 8 Deluxe, and I just don't think I'm going to be playing this for a very long time. I would be playing it for a very long time. I'm very drawn and mixed about picking up the Switch 2. I do have a pre-order, but for me personally, there's some major implications why I just don't want to pick it up, and we're going to talk more about it. But I wanted you guys to see what the gameplay looked like, at least initially, and then we'll jump into some more of it.
So the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out in a couple days, and I have to say, are y'all gonna buy this? Because personally, I'm not buying this shit. Not because it's bad or anything like that, but simply, I just don't give a fuck about it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna buy this shit, and I'm gonna play Mario, and what else outside of that? Like, nah, I'm good. I ain't gonna lie. Especially the pricing being around $400, $500. Like, no, bro, no. That shit is not worth it at all.
Bro, Nintendo's wild for that new user agreement. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. But just know I did you a favor by bringing this up. Especially if you're a parent and your kids are like, I want the new Nintendo Switch. No, the fuck you don't. Imagine it breaks and you have to go get it fixed, and then you get it bricked because they think you modified it. Yep, well, that's what they're doing remotely. So don't buy it.
So if you are picking up a Nintendo Switch 2, I'm actually genuinely concerned for you. And please, like, take it from me, like, someone who's been a part of it, like, from the very, very beginning, and I have one right here. I mean, I've had all of them, the different models. I'm actually really scared for you. Let me explain. The first thing is the technological advancements are very poor. The innovation is a magnetic Joy-Con, and maybe use it as a mouse. That's really bad. The hardware specs are compared to a PS4, Xbox One. That's also very bad. That's 12-year-old hardware. That's scary. Definitely do not pick one up, okay? Save yourself. I'll pick one up and I'll show you guys how it is and how bad it functions, okay? Nintendo is just, they've blown it. They have absolutely blown it.
And as your video game advisor, I can't recommend you go buy this on launch. I can't. And it's not because games are going to be $80 to $90. I just don't think it would be financially smart to spend almost $500 on a console that really doesn't have any high quality games coming out. You know, Mario Kart's cool, but can you play that for a year until some better games come out? I just don't think it would be smart. But if you do decide to get a Switch 2, please promise me something. Don't buy games that have came out already. Don't buy a Switch 2, then go buy Cyberpunk. Please, I'm begging you guys. Can we just be smart for a second? That's all I'm asking. Be smart with your money. And I also think it's smart to wait because we both know these other companies make better accessories than Nintendo. Just wait. Please don't waste your money. I'm begging you.
Bro, how does it feel? How does it feel, man?
The Switch 2 comes out in literally a couple days, and I will not be getting it day one. I am not by any means anti-Nintendo. I am not by any means not a fan of any of the Nintendo games. I have a Switch 1. I love Breath of the Wild. I'm a big fan of Nintendo. Reason number one, there's just not enough games for the launch lineup for this console. Nintendo Switch 2 only really has one game, and that's Mario Kart World. Every other game is a third-party game that we've either played on a different console or you're going to play it through the Nintendo Online subscription. Mario Kart World is just simply not enough for me to go out and purchase a $450 console that then have to wait another month for Donkey Kong Bonanza to come out and then actually make it feel like it's actually worth it. Until Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4, then the console is worth it at that point. But right now, as it is during launch, I can't put it past that. The price of Mario Kart World alone is $80. And I mean, you can opt in for the bundle, which I think is a smart thing, but the holidays, but at that point, they might have other deals as well that you could then purchase with the Nintendo Switch 2. Because by then, you probably will get a Mario Kart World Donkey Kong Bonanza bundle or something along the lines like that, that at that point would make the purchase valuable. But at this point in time, I just can't put it past that launch lineup, buying and justifying the Switch 2 getting it day one.
So you guys can see that a lot of people are coming to the exact same conclusion that this thing is not worth it. Of course, you have the people that are rushing out there right now that were camping out in front of the stores. But a lot of stores are reporting that there are people, just a few people there. Like, even John from Spawnwave, he basically was just in and out for him. And the excitement, even though there's the excitement from the fanboys, in terms of the typical person, like a typical casual consumer, they are not feeling good about the Nintendo Switch 2. In my situation, The Nintendo Switch 2, I would not say that it is free, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be completely honest because this is how all of us YouTubers work. This is a tax write-off, okay? Because I cover the devices. I'm able to talk about them. I'm able to review them. This is a tax write-off. I'm just putting it out there for you guys. So yes, I still have to pay actual cash for it, but this is a tax write-off for me. I actually, and this is the saddest thing about the situation right now, it makes more sense for me to go and buy it and spend the money on it than actually not buying it. At least it would if I would actually own something, because you're just purchasing a license to use the device. So it's like, yes, if I was physically purchasing something that I actually would own, then it would make sense. But because I would only be purchasing something that's a license to use, it's very hard to justify that for me. And again, like I said, if I purchase it, it's a tax write-off because this is a part of my job. You know, looking at this hardware, talking about the hardware for you guys, giving you my opinion upon it. But I'm just like, do I want to even waste the money on it, even though ultimately it won't cost me anything in the long term, or maybe essentially next to nothing? It's like, yeah, I could, but do I even want this thing? And the answer is really no. It's just so hard. I waited like for 2 or 3 hours to get the pre-order back in, I think it was back in May or April, when Nintendo announced it, or maybe it was the end of April. I waited in line for like 2 to 3 hours just to get the pre-order. And it was a hard 2 to 3 hours. And now, after everything Nintendo has done with their terms of service, I just don't want this damn thing. And I keep on telling you guys, that's why you should consider crypto. Don't let Nintendo have their way, because there's this whole notion, you will own nothing and be happy. And I know a lot of you guys don't like to hear about crypto, but I'm going to keep on preaching about it, okay? Because that's where we're heading right now, where you will own nothing and be happy. No, all right? Because when the ATMs stop working, the banks chain up the doors, guys, the only thing you're going to be able to do is access crypto. Those of you that are prepared right now. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now.
Everybody's hyped up about the Switch 2 release, but I'm just sitting here going, wow, this is absolutely a joke. Nintendo owns the rights to all your games. You actually don't even own them. You gotta download them over the internet via these key cards, which is pretty pathetic. Nintendo is releasing a handheld console, the Switch 2. We should be able to own the games that we play, but we don't. It's way different than anything like Steam. Again, it's a repository for a ton of online digital games. They don't actually manufacture physical copies. Nintendo does, but they went the lazy way, and they also went the greedy way by owning the games. I just can't believe this, because this essentially makes the Switch 2 like the PlayStation Portal that everybody complains about, is you need internet to even download the full game to your system. What about the people who don't have internet? Then they just can't play any games, essentially.
Got more new information on the Nintendo Switch 2. It is now one of the most unfixable consoles ever created. Why? Because if it even remotely senses the slightest bit of a change in anything firmware, hardware, anything about it, it just bricks itself. I mean anything from the USB to anything that could ever go wrong with this device could potentially cause it to be bricked. What happens when a console gets bricked? For anyone who doesn't know, that means the developer of it, so Nintendo, basically tells the console, yeah, you don't work anymore. And when this happens, it sends a notification to Nintendo, and then they'll tell you, hey, yo, bro, you're gonna have to pay a fee, and then we'll fix it. Brother, this is the same console that has a button on it that you can't even use without paying a subscription fee. This is also the same console that has a webcam that is so bad by modern standards that they literally had to block any other third-party webcam from being used. And the subscription service that you will pay for is essentially just a nerfed version of Discord. Yes, Discord is free. Other new news. This is the first console in the past 2 decades that hasn't been given to any type of reviewer before it's come out. The amount of people that have tried to sell this as, oh good, I'm so happy that reviewers aren't getting a hold of it. Why? Like, actually why though? This isn't like a game that, like, you might have a differing opinion on. No. This is a fucking console. What do you mean you don't want anyone else to try it before you, so you know you don't want to spend, or you do want to spend this much money on it? Like, it's so weird seeing, like, if any other company did this, this would be the biggest of biggest red flags. When Nintendo does it, there is this weird amount of, like, well, I mean, like, it's Nintendo, though. Brother, Nintendo makes PlayStation look like a saint. I'm not saying Sony is a good company. If you compare them to Nintendo, it's actually insane. Well, if they weren't going to do the $80, another company was going to do it. Yeah, but they would have lowered their prices after a while. Brother, Nintendo doesn't lower their prices. But yeah, no, Nintendo's just proving, oh yeah, bro, we are basically the pot of greed. Learn from us.
Thank you. Congrats. Congratulations.
So they're out here like, congratulations. Really what they're doing is they're trying to get you used to the idea of not owning shit. That's what they're doing. All right, they are conditioning you to own nothing and be happy. All right, I'm telling you, that's what this is. And of course, the sheep are out there and they're rushing out because, guys, we have nothing else in our lives anymore. Think about this very carefully. We are desperate for human connection and being with one another. We're desperate to hold on to something. We're desperate for anything and everything because the family unit no longer exists. We no longer have families. Some of y'all are like, I have a family. I don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. The average person no longer has a family unit. And when these people come to my comment section, they try to attack me and they talk garbage. I don't care anymore. Oh, Jay, you're just a brokey, angry. You can't afford it, bro. I pre-ordered the damn thing. All right, guys, they're just trying to shame you and trying to control you into being silent. All right, so that you obey. Because you don't own anything. You do not own the Switch 2. You do not own your games. The game key cards, they can deactivate the damn game key cards. And it wouldn't surprise me if the actual physical games that they're selling right now, they're able to deactivate those as well. But one thing is certain, they can deactivate the game key cards because the only thing that's actually on those game key cards is a license. And it's not a license like on a traditional disc. It's literally just like a serial number that the console itself verifies is valid. And then when you put the card in, you have to download the game and then play the game with the card in there. But hey, it's awesome because you can still sell them and trade them until Nintendo turns around and says, yeah, about that. So those game key cards won't be working anymore. This is conditioning you to own nothing and be happy with it because people have nothing else happening in their lives. But there's a lot of backlash of people saying, yeah, absolutely, 100%, miss me with that.
He goes and tells me that he shows me like a stack of slips that he has, and there must have been at least 100 or 200 stacks in there. Maybe I'm exaggerating. It's probably like 40 or 50 stacks, but it was a thick stack. Slips, sorry, not stacks. So it was like maybe 40 or 50 slips, and each of those is basically a Switch. And he's like, yeah, you pick this, and then just come back, make sure you're here at midnight, which is in like 20 minutes from now, and you get yourself a Switch 2. And I was like, you guys have enough for that? He's like, yeah. He's like, we got plenty. There's not as many as you'd think were being sold, I guess. And I mean, there's a good, decent amount outside. If anything, this is a good sign, like Nintendo, as far as having like the stock available. But I'm just very surprised because I have never, I don't know, I can't remember the last time that there was a console launch and you'd be able to show up at midnight at a store half an hour before like that launch opens up and you'd be able to buy something. So I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if it means that Nintendo actually has an excellent amount of stock. I don't know if people are unaware because they've given up on trying to line up outside of stores after like the PS5 launched and whatnot. But I did think it was funny. It's very unnatural. Not what I'm typically used to. I do recall, I gotta think about this. I think it was for the Wii. I remember 6 months after the Wii had come out, I was able to we were buying a second Wii for a family member, I think. So we lined up 2 hours prior to the launch 2 hours prior to Toys R Us opening up at that time, and we were able to grab a Wii. Since then, I have never seen anything in this area where you're not camping out overnight. And again, this could just be that people are not aware that you can buy stuff at stores anymore. Everybody already pre-orders it. Maybe all the diehard people were able to get their pre-orders, and that's why they couldn't line up at the stores. But I just found this very interesting. And this is a short clip. I mean, I'm not really showing you guys anything, obviously. I don't want to give away my location, but there's maybe, looks about 35, 40 people outside. So they probably got a good, 100, 200 switches available. These switches are going to be available tomorrow.
Y'all, it's becoming quite evident that Nintendo finessed everyone, where people were struggling to pre-order one at launch. The websites were breaking down. People basically like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get one. Guys, they deliberately did this. Nintendo did this 100%. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They wanted people to have anarchy, chaos, trying to get this thing to create the perception of artificial scarcity. That's what they were doing, because they knew that there was going to be a lot of controversy when they announced that, hey, you don't own anything anymore. There's the user agreement, basically says you can't sue them anymore. By the way, Nintendo did receive my letter, my notice from my notice that my lawyer prepared, letting them know that I am not agreeing to forced arbitration and that I preserve my right to sue them. They did receive it. I said it's certified mail. I just spoke to my attorney shortly before making this video, asked him if I needed to reach and send Nintendo an email. He's like, nope, you did everything. I have my certified mail receipt. I have screenshots of it. I have everything. I also requested a return receipt for that electronic return receipt. Y'all think I'm playing games with Nintendo? I'm not playing games with Nintendo. All right? I am not playing games with Nintendo. Okay, if Nintendo wants to jump, I will jump. I am so stressed. I don't need this right now from Nintendo. I will jump. I will literally jump with Nintendo right now. We can jump. Okay? They were finessing everyone. They wanted people to believe that there would not be enough Nintendo Switches. That was total BS. The reason why they pushed back the launch of the Nintendo Switch from the fall all the way out till now is and that's what we heard initially, is because they were trying to build up stock, but then make it look like they did not have enough stock. This way, people would be dumb enough to go out, rush out to buy this thing, and then of course they did not allow initial reviews because they didn't want anything to like leak and basically let you know that, yeah, you don't need to buy this thing at launch. It's not all that great. No, they wanted to control information, and then they began sending out Nintendo Switch consoles to this is the craziest things. They began sending them out not to the people who actually do reviews. And don't get me wrong, I know you're like, I don't like the gaming media, the journalists, blah, blah, blah. I don't like these people. I get you. They started sending them out to random influencers. Like, you have people who are like small influencers who just got a free Nintendo Switch 2. I evidently could have gotten a Nintendo Switch 2 for free, more than likely, because I'm a pretty decent sized YouTuber. Although they wouldn't have sent it to me. You know the reason why? Because they know that I'm a hater. All right, they know that I'm not playing games with them. They know I'm calling out their BS because they didn't send. I don't think Varadark got a free Switch. Hypnotic didn't get a free Switch. I don't know about Smash JT. I don't think he did, but most of us did not get Nintendo Switches that are covering. Hell no, Furtanga Plays definitely did not get a free Nintendo Switch. So they basically chose very careful people to send them to that would basically like, oh my gosh, it's so wonderful, I love Nintendo, because they were trying to control the news around the Switch and what people were going to say around the Switch. It is such a messed up thing. And of course, if people are having trouble using it or whatever, it's still not going through a mainstream source. So guys, they deliberately try to create chaos, because during chaos they can take advantage of it. There's a saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. and that's exactly what they're doing here. This is absolutely a piece of crap. You do not own your games, and it's absolutely and then the microphone is listening in on you. The camera is listening. Like, this is basically Connect all over again, except this Connect is absolutely terrible. It does not have the same capacity as like the Connect from 15 years ago with the Xbox 360. So like, it's not even anywhere as nearly as advanced from what we've seen as the Xbox 360's Connect. And this is crazy. And yet they're releasing this camera. So basically, which they've basically said that, hey, if we, when you connect it, we can record the video and we can review the video and we can also terminate your account if we don't like what you're saying, what we're seeing you do on there. Like, guys, this is like surveillance, absolute surveillance. I have not even heard of a way of muting the microphones. Like, for example, with the Echo devices, there's a button on it that you can press. I have an Echo device. There's a button on it that you can press that basically mutes it, and then it turns red. And if you try to speak to it, it does not, at least it doesn't respond to you. So, hey, maybe it's listening still, but I think it probably isn't, okay? It really doesn't seem to be. And with when it comes to, and if it was, and they actually tried to do something like that, you could basically say in court, yeah, this thing is spying on me. So I'm just putting this out there with the Switch 2. Like, this thing is literally going to be recording your conversations, your kids' conversations, and sending that back to Nintendo. And if anything breaks on it, if it detects that, oh, you did something to the USB, your console will break. Like, you cannot make any changes to this device. People are like, oh, Nintendo is just putting that there to scare you. No, people are saying that this damn thing is already bricking. Like, this is what I've heard. I don't know. It hasn't been confirmed, but I've heard people saying, like, they got them early and they tried to mess around with it and it stopped working. So I don't know. Again, I don't know how direct that is, but I would not put it past them. And this is why people really need to wake the hell up and stop getting involved with these companies who do not like you and are just taking advantage of us. They just want our money, but they do not like us. This is a stupid thing to do, to go out and pick up an expensive piece of hardware that is just being used to spy on you and extract large amounts of wealth and resources from you. Another thing that's really interesting is the fact that this is pretty much the end of the console right now. It really is. This is really the end of the console. Like, we're heading towards a world, a reality where there's not going to be any more consoles, guys. Everything is going the way of Steam. We're moving away from it, and everything is becoming a platform. Like it or not. I actually have a video from Andy Society. I'm going to put the video on because he goes more into it, and I'll link you guys to his channel. He has Angry Society and Andy Matrix. This is over on his Andy Matrix channel. But he kind of breaks it down a little bit further, because this is kind of stupid what's happening here. This is why I say, guys, don't let them lull you to sleep like sheep. Invest in crypto. And one of the best ways to do that, to learn about buying, selling, and how to make massive profit through crypto, is with Angry's Crypto Academy. Go check that out. It's in the description of the video. But let's check out what Andy's going to say.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Andy Matrix. And guess what? Console gaming is dead, whether you like it or not. I know, you're mad at me, or you're mad at the industry. I get it. But console gaming is over. Console gaming is dead, whether you like it or not. And what killed it is the digital age. Yeah. What killed it is the digital age. And look, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can still buy a console. You're going to be able to buy your Nintendo Switch 2. You're going to be able to buy your PlayStation 5, your Xbox SX, whatever. And, especially with Nintendo, because Nintendo used to had a lot of exclusive titles like Mario, Kirby, Donkey Kong, all, the exclusive Nintendo titles that you cannot play anywhere else. You can't play Mario on PlayStation or any other platform, right? So Nintendo's got that going for them, right? And you can download the new Mario Kart game digitally, but you can't own it, right? So, what do I mean by this? I mean, recently Nintendo confirmed that even if you buy the physical copy, which is going to cost about $90, it's not really the physical copy, because you still need to download the little cartridge. It's just like a key, it's like a key code. It contains, like, remember those those the serial key number back in the 2000s when you bought a software. That's what it is. It's just a key code. You put it in the Nintendo Switch. It allows you to play the game, download it. You still got to download it, so you might as well just get the digital copy. It's retarded. It's absolutely nonsense, right? So you don't you don't really own it, because the great thing about having a physical copy back then, and having a memory card, if you guys remember the memory card, is that you can take your game and you can go to your friend's house, play it at your friend's house. You can take your memory card, take the memory card, play it at your friend's house, whatever, right? There was a lot of freedom with gaming back in the day, right? Games were physical. You can pick up your games and take them wherever. You can take your memory card and play them wherever. That's how it used to be. Especially with the memory card. There's no more memory card. There's no more memory card. Yeah, you got your SSD, right? But it's not the same. Yeah, so you don't own your games. Everything is digital, especially with PlayStation. You buy the physical disc copy, same thing. The disc just has like a code that allows you to download the game. You cannot play the game without internet connection. You can't, because you gotta download it first. You gotta download it first. That's the sad part. So, a lot of people are pissed off about this. A lot of people are pissed off. And what this is going to do is that it's just going to make retro games even more popular. The Gen Z and Gen Alpha, when they start playing, more video games, they're going to start looking at the old games, the Super Nintendo, the NES, the Nintendo 64. That's what I've been doing. I've been going back in time, Nintendo DS games. Heck, PlayStation 4, we still had ownership with PlayStation 4. Once we got to PlayStation 5, right at the pandemic, right when the dystopia started, we're at the early stages of the dystopian. We no longer own our games. And this started like years ago. And this really started, in my opinion, when Netflix became popular in the 2010s, right? When Netflix decided to go from a CD rental movie company to a video streaming platform where you can just watch as many movies like a buffet for a small fee. That's when it really started. I remember back in college when one of my friends started using Netflix. You could just pay $8 a month, watch as many movies as you want, unlimited movies, no matter what. Back then I was paying $8 a month, right? And then every other business started copying. I remember even the WWE, the wrestling show, they started a subscription service. Everybody started their own subscription service. That was the new business model. But the funny thing is that it's not sustainable. It really isn't. It really is. I mean, it works for Netflix because they were the ones that started it. But for every other company, no, it's just not gonna work. It's really just not gonna work. Right? And even in gaming, is trying to do the same. And it's just not working, man. People need to own. And the funny thing is that people, like, movie companies would actually make more money if we went back. If we went back to the 2000s, where you actually have to buy a DVD, then companies would actually make more money, because not only do people go to the movies and spend $10, $15 on the movie when it comes out, the release date, but then like a year later they'll buy the DVD. Boom, another $15, $20. That's money. So this is why Hollywood is this is why Hollywood is going broke. It's not just that they suck, right? It's not just that they suck at making these things, at making new movies, but it's also like, they've been relying so much on streaming services, on the streaming model, that, they gave up their cash cow.
And I think that's a really important point, guys. I mean, ultimately, they think that people are just going to be able to continue living this way, owning absolutely nothing and just subscribing to a million different services. So, for example, you're going to have to subscribe to PlayStation service so that you can access their games. You're going to have to subscribe to Game Pass so you can have access their games. You're going to have to subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online so you can access their games, because that's what Nintendo is really doing. Now that they're adding GameCube games to Nintendo Switch Online, oh, you want to play all of those classic GameCube games that you can no longer play anywhere else? Oh, well, you have to have Nintendo Switch Online. So now you have to have all of these different services if you want to play the games that you previously were able to own. This is how sick it absolutely is. They don't want you to own anything. But in the case of games, like, bro, a lot of people are now fatigued having to have multiple different streaming services. I look at Netflix. I constantly cancel my Netflix. I'm constantly canceling my Netflix, and I'll come back to it maybe a few months later or many months later if and I'm like, oh, there's something there that I want to watch. Like, for example, like there was like a Zeus's Blood or something like that. That was a series I was watching. It took years, and I had it there, and I watched some of it, and then I left, and I came back once it came back. And I used to watch The Dragon Prince. There was a lot of bad messaging in The Dragon Prince, but I had started off watching it from season 1 many years ago. This was the final season. There was a lot of garbage in the final season that I just could not stand. I don't know if it was like season 7, but so I did finish it. It took a little while because there was just so much gross stuff in there, but I did watch it, did finish it, and now it's like there's just like not a lot to follow on Netflix for me. I'm not into Sunday. What the hell is the name of that? Wednesday or whatever. With Jenna Ortega. I'm not into that show. There's like a lot of feminist messaging in it, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with feminism, but I'm just saying there's a lot of feminism messaging in there, and it's just like I felt attacked watching it a bit. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna play with that. I'm not gonna rock with that. So let's just go ahead and leave that alone. And it's like people are just tired. Like I recently canceled Hulu. I need to watch Bleach: 1,000-Year Blood War. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even feel like watching it right now. I'll just go and come back to it at some other point. So I just canceled Hulu. I think what else did I cancel? There was something else. I've already canceled Disney Plus, which I've just been canceling stuff, and this thing with games, it's like they don't understand people are fatigued. And the reason why this is happening is because of the for-profit model, where it's like, oh, you have to keep on making more money endlessly. But when it comes to something like Steam, and all of these companies absolutely despise Steam, but also they need Steam to survive. That's the big elephant in the room. Because without Steam, Sony, Microsoft, they will suffer. Microsoft right now, I don't know if Xbox can actually survive without Steam, because most of their sales are coming from PC and not their store. It's coming from Steam. That's where they're making their money from right now. And Nintendo, they want to double dip where they want to charge you basically for the game initially $80 or $100, and then come next generation, they take it away from you. Your console no longer works, and you have to have Nintendo Switch Online if you want to even continue playing the game, right? And that's if it's even available there. That's how messed up Nintendo absolutely is. They're getting you used to the notion of owning nothing. Come next generation. And guys, don't misunderstand. Nintendo's new policy is not just for the Nintendo Switch 2. It's also for other consoles. It's for the original Nintendo Switch as well. So they're letting you know that they can now brick your original Nintendo Switch, and they will also deactivate it now, because you don't own your original Nintendo Switch anymore. Now you only own a license for it. And guys, the reason why they're trying to do this, they're basically like, oh, congratulations, you got a Switch too. They're trying to play it up and lull everyone into the notion that you don't own anything and you should be happy with it. And then they're trying to normalize it so that children growing up believing that this is normal. And something that actually comes up in one of the videos that I had that I'm gonna probably put on in a bit, it illustrates that a lot of people are not as informed as we think. There are a lot of parents that grew up, there are millennials that are Gen Xers that grew up with this technology, and they know what Nintendo is doing and they're doing their research. But then there's also a lot of parents who aren't up to date and they're not doing their research. They don't know anything about technology. They really just don't care that much. They can send an email and they can do basic stuff, but they really don't care about games or tech like that. And they have no idea what these new user agreements are actually like, and the fact that they're buying something that they do not own. And if they make any modifications to it, if their kid spills some juice into the freaking USB port, you know, it suddenly tells Nintendo that, oh, you've been messing around, guys. And now we're gonna break your console. Did you know that in the Nintendo's new user agreement, they can break your console not just for actually doing something that violates their policies, but if they even suspect that you will do something that violates their policies, okay? Or if it may damage them commercially to allow you to continue owning your games. What the hell does that mean? Damage them financially if it will allow them to continue owning their games. That sounds very much like, well, it's no longer financially feasible for us to let you keep owning these games, so we have the right to take them away from you. That's it. It's in the terms. Only an idiot would basically say this is okay and get in bed with Nintendo on this one. But there's a lot of idiots right now, and there are a lot of people who are desperate because they have nothing else going on in their life and they don't have the ability to say no. And of course, I have a lot of these Nintendo loons that are attacking me in the comments saying, if you're broke, just say it. But here's the interesting thing. I know what I want. I know I'm going to spend my money. I want to pick up a Legion Go S. I'm trying hard to get one. They're just not in stock yet. It was a mistake not ordering one, but you know what? Maybe not, you know, because I waited until the reviews were in, and it turns out this thing is absolutely amazing running SteamOS. So now I'm just basically fighting to go and get one of those. I'm waiting to pick up the one that I want to get. Is going to cost, it's $829. So $830 before taxes. So this thing's gonna run me about $900, and that's the model I want. So you know what? It's better than picking up this BS Switch 2 that's gonna run me $1,000 when you factor in that I need a special SDX micro. I need a special micro SD Express card, that which is like at least $100 for like what, 128 gigabytes or 256. I need the controller for it. You know, so because you're not going to connect it to a television and want to play with the stupid Joy-Cons, even if they're bigger. You know, you have to put it like all this other garbage that goes along with it. Yeah, or I could just play Steam, which is free, and I can access all of my games, you know, dirt cheap. Like Cyberpunk is $70 on the Nintendo. I think it's $70 on the Nintendo Switch, right? $70, but it doesn't include all the DLC. And like right now, it's constantly selling for like, you know, $20, $30 with DLC, $40 with all the DLC on Steam, on GOG, you know, good old games. I mean, on the Epic Game Store, no one uses Epic, but even the Epic Game Store, Good Old Games is actually owned by CD Projekt Red, so they're always discounting their games on their dirt cheap. I mean, even on Steam too, it's like, why would you do anything else? Why would you even buy your games from these companies, from Nintendo or these console makers that do not like you and that want to take everything away from you? When the PlayStation Network went out recently, people discovered that a lot of the games that they purchased, even physical games, could no longer work when the network was down. So they're basically, so this is already happening with Sony. Nintendo's just taking it to the next step, taking it to the next level, and everyone needs to be aware of this. So console gaming is absolutely dying. However, that does not mean that the structure of console is completely going to go away, because there are people, you know, that are right now, there are Steam machines that are supposedly going to be coming back, which are Steam consoles. The handhelds running SteamOS are doing incredible. Like I said, Legion Go S, the Steam Deck, they're giving you that console-like experience, the Switch-like experience, or PlayStation-like experience without the same crazy price and cost and the restrictions. And you can do so much more. You can change the graphics around. You can improve the performance. You can tweak things. You can add mods. You can play ROMs. You can emulators, all of that good stuff. So you know what? Nintendo could really go to hell. Sony can really go to hell. Microsoft can join them there too, because people are tired of the BS, tired of the crap that they're doing, and they're basically waking up and saying, we're not going to take it anymore, and we're taking our money, and we're going to go where we are respected and celebrated.
I told to myself, I'm going to buy the new Nintendo Switch when there's a new one, right? Because there's always going to be a better model, and this one I felt like it was going to be better until I saw the price. $500? Isn't that like the same amount for like the PS5 Pro? Don't get me wrong, I love Nintendo. I still have my Nintendo Advance ever since I was a kid. Like, that was my best friend. I still got my Nintendo SP, my Nintendo 3DS. My dad has the Wii. And then I stopped, like, I didn't get any new Nintendo like consoles, whatever. I did say I want the Switch, not the 2020 Switch. I wanted the new model Switch, whatever it was. But maybe I should buy the old model. Also, what do you mean that the games are like $80 and the physical one $90? Wow. The price is astronomical. I think I'm just gonna stay with my old Nintendos. My old consoles from back in the day.
This is my Nintendo Switch OLED, and I haven't touched this thing in maybe like 6 to 7 months. I bought it, played Tears of the Kingdom, haven't touched it since. And if you don't know, the Nintendo Switch 2 is officially out, and I'm debating if I should get it, should I check it out, or is it even worth it? I don't know. I feel like Nintendo games, they just have a long way to go in comparison to Xbox or PlayStation, and I grew up on PlayStation.
I promise once I make this video, I will not talk about the Switch 2 for a long time. But this is kind of the point I was trying to make with my videos about the Switch 2 and how it's causing confusion. It probably won't cause as much confusion as the Wii and Wii U situation because of the number 2. But this here is a scenario I could see playing out in a retail store. What still bothers me about all the comments I get in my post videos about the Switch 2 is people saying, well, millennial parents and Gen X parents are more informed than their parents were. And while that is definitely true in terms of technology because we did grow up with it, I try to make the point there's a lot of people out there, parents, that don't have any idea about anything video game related because they're just not into it, and that's okay. In fact, there's a lot of people out there who just aren't informed about technology in general. It's still the vast majority of the population. I know I'm making these videos and they're going to the gaming side of social media, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir. So when people comment on the videos and say, oh, well, we do our research, we know, we watch Nintendo Direct, doesn't take too long to figure things out, it's not going to be appealing to the average person. I get it. Millennials, a lot of them will read and do research before they buy something. I completely understand. But all I'm saying is, if consumers were informed, then Stellantis and Harley-Davidson would have got out of business years ago. Instead, I think there's going to be a lot of issues with Switch 1 and Switch 2, and why do I need the second one, and what games are compatible, and the fact there are games that are cross-compatible or work with Switch 2 is going to cause more confusion. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not jumping on any bandwagon no matter what. I'm not a huge diehard fanboy of anything, so I'm just along for the ride and to see what happens. When it's all said and done, I think Nintendo's making some weird choices with Switch 2. That's all I was trying to convey.
I just wanted to remind everybody that is going to buy the Switch 2 that their games are going to be $80. Is your ass really going to spend $80 on Mario Kart? Mario Kart. My ass is not spending $80 on Donkey Kong. Okay, I'm not doing it. For Donkey Kong, $80, nothing. And that's not even talking about the physical version, because the physical version, the actual box, is going to be $90. It's the fact that these games are not like Elden Ring quality. It's Mario Kart, Legend of Zelda. At that point, what are you doing? And for the people who are saying the price is the price, are you made of money? $80 for a video game. God damn. And there's some people in comment section saying, I'm still gonna buy it though. Why? Why? If you buy 5 Nintendo Switch games, that is $400. You bought a brand new Switch from 5 games. Why are you gonna buy the Nintendo Switch? There's genuinely no point. You know what my ass is gonna do? I'm gonna do the One Piece strat. The Caribbean strat. My ass is not buying that shit. Get the out of here, bro.
People are just now waking up to the fact that Nintendo is a predatory company and that the Switch 2 is the most anti-consumer product out there. Look, you don't own the Switch 2, you own the license to use the Switch 2. So that means that if you break any of the licensed agreement that you agreed to use the Switch, that they can just break your console. In the past, if you modded something or did something that was against the rules on the Switch 1, they would ban you from online services, which I understand, but we've jumped from that to you are agreeing that Nintendo can completely brick your console if you do something they don't like. Some would make the case that if you break the rules, then you should be punished. But look, you don't even own the games. If you buy a game physically, you own a cartridge that communicates with an online service that you have to pay for to tell you you're allowed to play the games. See where we're going here? The snowball effect that only gets worse, and we're feeding into it.
People are finally beginning to wake up to the reality of what Nintendo and these other companies are trying to do, which is basically to ensure you own nothing so that they can then resell to you the same damn game over and over and over, which is what Nintendo has been doing for a long time. Hopefully people will stand up to Nintendo. Hopefully there are more people who sent in the arbitration agreement, sent in the notice letting Nintendo know that, yeah, we're not going to accept the arbitration agreement and we're going to preserve our right to actually sue you for what you're doing. But even then, it's basically being said that a lot of these arbitration agreements are not even valid because they are forced arbitration agreements, and forced arbitration agreements are not legal. So Nintendo is just hoping that people won't challenge them. Then there's also another strategy that law firms use with forced arbitration agreements, where if you're forced to basically comply with an arbitration agreement and cannot join a class action lawsuit, law firms will just advertise that, have you been hurt by Nintendo, blah, blah, blah. Well, come and speak to us, and we'll be filing a mass arbitration agreements together. And when they do this, basically in a lot of states, let's say like California, the company that if a company requires that you go through an arbitration agreement, then they have to actually pay the lawyer fees for said arbitration for the arbitration. So lawyers will go and get a bunch of people, right? And in the case of Nintendo, it could be millions of people, and they'll say, well, we're going to basically follow all of these arbitration agreements together, and Nintendo is going to and we're going to mass file them. So basically it basically serves the same purpose as a class action lawsuit. However, in the case of a class action lawsuit, this is the craziest thing. In the case of a class action lawsuit, with the class action lawsuit, the law firm has to cover their own cost, right? Or the consumer has to cover the cost of filing the lawsuit. In the case of the arbitration, Nintendo would have to pay the attorneys for every single client, every single person that's now participating in said arbitration. So as you can see, it would become extremely expensive, and it's actually, to my understanding, in the best interest. It's in the best interest of the. It is actually in the best interest of the lawyers for Nintendo for this arbitration to go on for a long period of time, because the longer that is dragged out, the more Nintendo has to pay those lawyer fees. So they're like, oh no, we're good, Nintendo. Like, we're going to be in arbitration for a couple of years. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. If we're talking about tens of thousands of people in these arbitrations, or that's hundreds of millions. If we start talking about millions of people, like in these mass arbitration filings, we could be talking about billions of dollars in legal fees if it drags out for too long. You said billions, Angry? Oh yes, and you're like, Angry, that doesn't, you're out of your damn mind. Am I really? Let's say that it cost $50,000 for every single person, right? So let's say on average it's going to, and that's actually really low. But let's say it's $50,000, right? For each person that is going to that's going to basically go into arbitration. So Nintendo's going to have to spend $50,000 per customer, right? And we're dealing with 1 million people. So we're going to multiply that by wow. We're going to multiply that by 1 million. And yeah, guys, I just tried to do it, and the number is astronomical. When I crunched the numbers just now, so $50,000, right? If you're going per person by 1 million people, would work out to $50 billion. If we're talking about even just like, so let's say it's 1 million people, but it's $10,000 a person, which is very low. That's still $10 billion. Nintendo is currently sitting on around $14 billion, or just a little over $14 billion in actual cash. So I think it's a $100 billion company, but they only have around $14 billion in cash, and they will not be able to survive indefinitely. So you're seeing where we're going with this right now. So with this forced arbitration, this is the reason why Steam actually changed their policies later on, so that basically sue them, saying that if you want to deal with us, because before they had an arbitration agreement in there, and they changed it so that you could actually sue them directly. The reason why they changed it was not because they're such a great company. The reason why they changed it is because of mass arbitrations, mass filing of arbitrations. They realized it before long, and they basically said that we would rather expose ourselves to being sued than to the risk of mass filed arbitrations. So Nintendo is now forcing people into these arbitrations as well, which is very, very illegal. But if people basically are forced into them, these companies, the lawyers will say, okay, well, that's great, because we'll just start charging Nintendo indefinitely. So we're just going to we'll get together tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people who are pissed off. And it won't just be one law firm. It'll be many different law firms competing for this. So you have millions of people in these lawsuits. If they're not class action lawsuits, they're mass arbitration filings. And the lawyers just keep them running for years. That would bankrupt Nintendo. And for Nintendo then to try to change their agreement later on, suddenly, even then that's actually problematic, because they just think about this. Nintendo just changed their policy, forcing you into arbitration and into an forced arbitration. And now, what are they going to do? Change it to say that, oh, if you're basically going to agree now that if you want to deal with Nintendo, you're going to have to sue us directly. Guys, I feel like they're going to get eaten up in court. They're going to get eaten up in court. I really do. It's like, what kind of game are you playing, Nintendo? And then you look at the whole Pal World situation. No, bro. This is some really crazy stuff that's happening here. People are waking up to how predatory Nintendo is, and I honestly hope that this falls back on Nintendo. Thankfully, there's already backlash. There's already people saying they're not going to pick it up. In my case, like I said, this is a tax write-off for me, but I just don't feel comfortable picking up this device. I can't. It's like I don't want it. I'd be looking at it and I would hate it. And that's why, like you heard, like this dude said earlier in the video, like he's getting ready to sell the 7 Seas like One Piece, and start, and that's, I've seen people see, like literally people saying online, like, I'll see you on the Grand Line, the One Piece is real. Like, this is in response to what Nintendo is doing, okay? And of course, they shut down Yuzu and all of these other things. Guys, there's a bunch of forks of Yuzu. Like, people like Yuzu went down. There's already a bunch of other emulators that popped up that have left off where Yuzu left off. Yuzu is what was one of the most popular emulators for emulating Nintendo Switch software, for emulating Nintendo Switch games. And the emulation market is still going. All right, I remember John was like, I guess it's over. Like, oh, the emulation is over. No, they basically, where that one left off, someone else just picked it up and they continued developing it. And you can still emulate your games. And of course, what's going to be the big emulation going forward? It's going to be emulating Switch 2 games. All right, it's really going to be emulating Switch 2 games. And of course, I'm not advocating for it. I'm not advocating for piracy whatsoever. But I'm just saying, like, it's going to be a massive thing. And Nintendo is giving all of these consumers an incentive to basically say, screw this. Like, all of these companies are giving consumers all of the incentives to say, screw you. You want us to own nothing. So basically, you're demanding that we give you our money. We have to pay you so that we can own nothing. And then on top of it, companies that are going bankrupt right now and collapsing because consumers are done with the whole woke garbage, are done with the high prices for games, are lashing out at the same consumers and demanding and begging money. So the people who absolutely do not like us, the people who absolutely despise us, are also out there begging us for money and demanding money from us and demanding we go and buy their garbage trash games. Hell no, guys. Hell no, guys. The tides are finally beginning to change. People are finally beginning to wake up. People are finally beginning to take a stand and walk away from these predatory companies, these predatory businesses that are just out there trying to milk their consumer base for as much effing money as possible. Okay? The reason why why Nintendo existed, why PlayStation existed, why these companies' consoles existed, is so that you would have an inexpensive way to play games, and they were rewarded for it. But then when all of this greed stepped in, when you have all of these investors, and it's about making as much money as possible, and you have to make more money from over the last year, that's the reason why Valve is so successful, because they're a private company. All right? Do they want to make money? Absolutely. But they can afford to fail, and they don't have to make more money than the previous year. They can have Valve can have a bad year. Valve can make $1 billion one year, 250 million another year, and that's still a damn good year for them because they only have like 300 employees and it's one of the most efficient companies in the world, if not the most efficient company in the world. So they're running very, very well. They're running an amazing operation there. They're just like, Claire Expedition, where it was basically like 33 people built this damn game in a cave. All right. on a budget rumored to be only on a budget that's actually rumored to be under $2 million. I don't know if that's true, but it's evidently under. They've basically said it's under 20, but they haven't told us how much it actually is yet. But it's rumored to be under $2 million. And if it turns out that this game was actually built for under $2 million, it's going to rock the industry even more. It's going to rock the industry even more if it turns out that this game was built for under $2 million, which it seems it's very possible, because when you find out the company that did the publishing that funded the game, guys, it's very possible this game was built for under $2 million or right around there. And if this massive game that is now believed to be the best game ever made, the highest rated game ever made, was made for less than $2 million, that is only going to reflect where things are going, where, you know, these convoluted companies are beginning to die, and we're beginning to heal as indie is beginning to take over, and you're having games being made by people like the way they originally were, who actually enjoyed games and really wanted to make something that other people would enjoy. And we're beginning to see companies, you know, developers that worked at these big studios like Rockstar and Ubisoft. And don't forget, it was a former Ubisoft developer that founded Sandfall, that made Expedition 33. You're seeing these people that come from these large companies, even the company that made Batman Arkham Asylum. You're gonna just watch as these people who are leaving these companies are now going off, forming their own indie studios. They understand this technology, and they're basically able to pass on the skill sets to new people as well, and create these amazing masterpieces. And as these larger companies like Microsoft have fired all of the people who know how to make these games, and we're experiencing brain drain. So guys, yeah, people are waking up. It's this is Nintendo's worst launch ever. It may seem like it's incredible, but a lot of people are saying go to hell, Nintendo. And I feel like when the dust settles, sure, they may have sold a bunch of consoles, but it's not what people think it is. I think they may do well for the first 1 to 2 years, but it's not. They may do well for the first 1 to 2 years, but then the dust will start to clear, and they'll begin to realize, yeah, the casual audience has basically abandoned us. So when we say the worst launch ever, the Switch 2 has failed to sell out, and that should tell you everything you really need to know. Nintendo was just finessing us and lying to us and using this as a means of creating artificial scarcity to drive people to buy this damn thing. But the reality is that it's really not even worth it. It costs $331, the equivalent in Japan, while $450 in the US. And the games are cheaper in Japan, evidently, than they are in the US. They're like $100 in Canada as well, just for like the base game, and I think maybe like $120 for like the deluxe. It's psychotic, all right? And in Australia, I think the console is like $700 over there. Yeah, bro, miss me with that. Let me know what you guys think. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA. And walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.